what it means during Ramadan, then they don't have to make it up. What it means during Ramadan, they don't have to make it up. Alaikum. So, but during that time, and if a person accepts Islam in Ramadan, they have to hold back from eating for the rest of the day. Meaning that the person, it took the Shahada after Jum'ah. Because we do have that. They come to the masjid to take Shahada on Jum'ah. In Ramadan, the person has to stay back from eating for the rest of the day. Even though what the person missed from the day, they don't have to make it up. Because at that point in time, when the person becomes responsible, it becomes obligatory upon the person. The Sheikh mentioned, he says, لأنه صار من أهل الوجوب حين إسلامه. So he mentioned that. So that's the first. So that's what the first one the Sheikh mentioned, regarding to the first category of people. And next, he mentioned, of course, the person, no Muslim that just accepts Islam, it doesn't have to make up that on the day, but the rest of the fasting it has to make it up. So the second category the Sheikh mentioned is as-saghir, is the child. A child who is below, hasn't reached the age of puberty yet. Right? The Sheikh says, فَلَا يَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ الصِّيَامُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغْ لقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رفع القلم عن ثلاثة. The Prophet said that, the Sheikh says that the fasting is not obligatory upon the child, due to the statement of the Prophet where Prophet said that رفع القلم عن ثلاثة, that the pen has been lifted upon three people. What are they? What are the three people?
The person before they make puberty.
Yeah. Yeah. As-saghir حتى يبلغ. Okay. Second one?
The one who is sleeping.
The one sleeping.
And the one who has lost his akhl. The one who's lost his mind while during that time.
Nah. So a child before reaching of puberty. So mean that a pen is lifted means what? That is no accountability. That we have angels. We have two angels, one on our right, one on our left, taking account of our actions. So this child, before reaching the age of puberty, there's no accountability. Allah Azza wa Jalla, if he dies before reaching the age of puberty, then the person is responsible. So the first is a child. The second is a person who's sleeping. A person who's sleeping, they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're doing. So they are not held responsible for their actions. Hatta yastaqid, until the person wakes up. So when a person wakes up, the angels are taking the records of what the person is doing after that. And the third is al-majnoon hatta yufiq, is that a crazy person until come back to his senses. So a crazy person will come back to his senses. Why? In the state of insanity, there's no accountability because he doesn't know what he's doing. So the point is that the Sheikh mentioned his hadith because of the child. That the child is not a child who's below the age of puberty he or she is not supposed to fast, or it's not obligatory upon him or her to fast. He said, لكن يأمر الوليه بالصوم إذا طاقه تمرين له. He said, but his parents, right? Some of us, we have kids, right? They haven't reached their puberty yet, but they can fast. They can fast. The Sheikh says that, but the parents, we command them to fast, so by the time they get the age of puberty, they are able to, they're used to it. They're used to it. You want to say something?
Yeah, it's a question. Because obviously when we speak about sanity, one who is in a state of being insane the pen is lifted, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I think as we spoke before, as one of the requirements for Salah, like you have to have your sanity.
No.
So say if somebody's in here and they're berate, and they're arguing, they're very angry, you shouldn't go straight to Salah because you're not sane yet, right?
No, it's not because they're saying. That's not the kind of sign we're talking about. What you're talking about is more the person is because their body is. When you're about to pray your salah, it's supposed to be tranquil. There's difference between not being calm or tranquil or you being crazy. What we are talking about is the person losing their intellect completely, right? Meaning that the person is, crazy people, right? They're crazy. You know what I'm saying?
That's why it's kind of hard to define because, like you said, and I get your point because that's when you just said that the pen is lifted for someone who is insane and then wants to get back to their sanity.
Right.
Then of course again, that's like saying that once you're insane, you can become sane again. Where some people that they're always going to be like mentally challenged people.
Right.
They're always going to be in a state of
No.
that. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But just like how you see the court of law that say, "Oh, I murdered this person because I wasn't in the right mind."
Right.
And Islam is not like that. It's not saying, "Oh, I murdered this person because."
No, okay, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. So, and this issue is mentioned in issue of fiqh. I think when a person, matalan, there's an argument that the person who divorces his wife instead of anger, is so angry and he divorces his wife, right? The ulama, some of the ulama said that the person who is at that point, and some of the scholars mentioned this person who gets his anger get to a point where he's really angry, and he said that it's like see a person in a state of madness, insanity, right? So complete rage. So some of the scholars they mentioned that person is talaq, is divorce, does not count in that particular situation. So if you're saying, yeah, but it doesn't. Does he nullify your fasting? No, but argument can be made for a person that went to a temporary insanity, right? I hope I've answered your question, inshallah.
Yeah, it is tricky. And you answered the question, but it just gets tricky to say that the pen is lifted for someone who was, which we all understand. Some people who doesn't have the right mind and shouldn't be judged. But someone that is like me, I could go down, somebody cut me off, and I go into a state of rage.
Right.
And I do something, abruptly.
Right.
I just should say the pen should be lifted because I was insane in that second.
I mean, that kind of situation goes to the court system. And the judge is going to look at, what your situation is. You know what I'm saying? If this kind of situation it has to be looked in a proper manner, but it doesn't really. It's not connected to what we're discussing here. What we're discussing here is, and we're going to mention other things that are connected there, but what we're talking about is a person who is insane, is known to be.
Schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic.
Somebody with schizophrenic or autism or something like that.
Autism, or a person who will even be using drugs and the drugs messed up their minds, right? Like that.
Paranoia, multiple personalities.
Yeah, but even that also, it doesn't reach stage of insanity where you cannot make a distinction, right? Majnun, the person is crazy. So that also there's also level to that, right? Meaning that you don't recognize, you don't know what you're doing anymore, right? This is what we're discussing here. So the Sheikh mentioned, he said regarding the child, he said, but the parents, even though the child is young, even though it's not obligatory for the child to start fasting, but the parents or the guardian of the child should start training, let the child fast, as the Salaf used to do. That the Salaf, they used to make their children fast, and if they start crying, they'll give them a toy to play with it so that they can distract them from crying. He said the Sheikh mentioned that many of the people nowadays, and we have that in our communities here, we ask Allah to help all of us, that we have some people, they don't want their children to fast. They'll say that they make an argument that, it's too hard upon them, that they can, don't leave them alone. When they get older, they'll start fasting. And this can lead to a negative effect, because when a child gets to like 13 and 14, they haven't been fasting, right? Then they might want to fast. They may go to school, right? And they see their friends eating, especially in the environment we're in, where public schools, you go to public schools, and especially when they're making fun of them. Like, why are you fasting? And people, kids, they teach tease each other, one another and stuff. So the Sheikh says that some of the parents, they are heedless of this. They don't encourage their kids to fast, and this is wrong. He said this is oppression. He said the Sheikh says that فَمَنْ مَنَعَهُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ أَفَرَّتْ فِيهِ كَانَ ظَالِمًا. He said whoever prevents a child from fasting, right? Your child can fast. Some child from 6, 7, 8, they can fast. And the other ways to do is to actually make them fast half a day, right? Train them to fast a little bit. Maybe they fast from the beginning, they start from like maybe in the morning to like noon. And if you feel that it's difficult for them, you like, okay, no problem. Then you train them until they get used to fasting. So the Sheikh says that preventing them and falling short or being negligent of not letting them fast is oppression. He said the person is oppressing himself and is oppressing the child. Why? Because he's not training the child to get used to that. Now, if the child gets older and the child doesn't fast, he's responsible for that. He's responsible for that. Right. So the Sheikh now is going to be talking about now, how does a child reach puberty? What is the condition of puberty in Islam? Anyone? How does a person reach puberty in Islam?
You're not talking about babies. You're talking about
Puberty, yeah. Anyone?
When
First
female
discharge
gets
of
their,
semen and for the female menstruation.
Nah, that's one of them. Oh, there are others. Anyone else? Okay. The Sheikh mentioned the first thing is al-mani, which is night dreams, wet dreams. Right? That's the first one. The second one is banatu sha'r, that the person start growing in hair in the private area. This is another. The second one. The third is that a child reach the age of 15, whichever happens first, right? Whichever happens first. If a child reaches, if a child start going, seeing a wet dream at the age of 10, then it's reach age of puberty. Even though, and if they're and this is for the boys, by the way. As for the girls, they have 4 conditions. There are 4 situations. So the girls have 4 things that make them reach age of puberty. If anyone wants to start showing, then they have reached age of puberty. So menstruation is that 4th one for the women. Right. So what's the first one again?
Wet dreams.
Wet dreams. Okay. Second one.
Hair
in the private area. Okay. The third is
15.
reaching age of 15. Whichever happens first. Now. So the Shaykh now is saying that إذا يحصل البلوغ أثناء it says that the Shaykh mentioned that if the puberty happens in the month of Ramadan, a child starts seeing any of these things in the month of Ramadan, what happens?
They begin fasting. That next either, or I guess they're not. Whenever they start,
Right.
whenever the signs show, that's when they begin fasting.
Yeah, if that happens during Ramadan, what happens? What about the day that the child, what I did? For example, in the afternoon, a girl started menstruating, and in the afternoon of Ramadan, what happens? Does she make that day up, or she doesn't make the day up?
She makes the day up.
She has to make it up. In the case of a non-Muslim becoming a Muslim, no, they have to make it up. But for a child, they have to, the child has to make it up. So the Sheikh said no. ولا يلزم قضاؤه. Now, so the charge doesn't have to make it up now. The charge doesn't make it up. لأنه لم يكن من آل الوجوب حين وجوب. So now, just like a kafir, it's same thing happen for the child. Now, so he says. So that's the second one. The third one now the Sheikh is talking about now is the al-majnoon. The first we mentioned the first category of person when it comes to fasting. The first one is a person that has to fast. And we mentioned 5 conditions for that person. What are the 5 conditions?
He has to be a Muslim.
Muslim.
Reach the age of puberty.
Reach the age of puberty.
Cannot be crazy.
Cannot be crazy, okay.
In their hometown or like not traveling.
Not traveling, yeah. Hometown, you're not traveling, yeah.
And does not have any conditions blocking them from fasting.
Does not have any condition problem like health issues and things of that nature. Now, type. So the second one is what?
A child who hasn't reached the age of puberty.
A child hasn't reached puberty. The third one now is al-majnoon, a person who is crazy. Based on the hadith we mentioned before. So a person who's crazy, meaning crazy, we don't mean like crazy like people throwing around here. People say he's crazy, but it's not crazy. It's just that's how people talk around here, right? Yeah. Right. But that's not what we're talking about. A person who's really, really crazy, right? So the Sheikh says that if a person fasting who's crazy, fasting is not obligatory upon him, and if fast is not correct. The Sheikh said, فَإِنْ كَانَ يَجُنُّ أَحْيَانًا ويفيق أحيانا لازمه صيام في حال إفاقته. So it says that if the person is crazy sometimes and is okay sometimes, it is obligatory for him to fast when he's okay. And it's not obligatory for him to fast when if with the time that it's crazy. That's why you have people like that. Today is fine, but tomorrow it's not okay. Right? So a person is like that, the days that is okay, is well, he has to fast. And the days that is not okay, he doesn't have to fast. Now.
What if that person, that state of them being okay is them being on drugs? Like somebody's like schizophrenic, like
no.
Kanye West, you know,
no.
when he doesn't get episodes,
no.
he's
okay, right.
But when he takes his medicine, he's regular.
No, it's obligatory upon him to take the medicine so he can fast.
Okay. Even if he has to take his medicine during the fast.
Now,
period.
because you have a principle in Islam that whatever leads to that helps in accomplishing an obligation in itself is of an obligation. Meaning that if there are many examples. If a person who you have to pray, right? And it requires that you buy water to make wudu. Now that water is obligation upon you because it's that means for you to be able to establish your prayer. Or a person who doesn't have a clothes, for example. You're praying, you have to cover your aura, right? So having the clothes is an obligation now on you because you cannot establish your prayer except you have that thing. So that whatever is dependent upon an obligation in itself, an obligation. Is that clear, inshallah? Yeah. Now. So the Sheikh said that if the person is healthy sometimes and is not healthy sometimes, then the days that he's healthy or is sane, the days that he's sane, then he doesn't have to make it up. He has to fast. He says that, but now if the person during the day, if he started the day, he was okay. But during the day, he started going, something started happening to him. Then his fasting is correct. Meaning that if he start the day right, but something happened to him, he lost his having an episode, right? Then his fasting is correct because at the time that he started fasting, he has an intention. His intention was there. But if it's vice versa.
That's the definition of insanity, unable to formulate an intention.
And the Sheikh mentioned that here as well. So when that person, and of course we know Ramadan, we have to have intention for our fasting. Right? Of course, the scholars have a different opinion on when the fact, when the intention has to be. Some of the scholars say it has to be the night before the night of Ramadan. So some scholars say it has to be the night of Ramadan. Some of the scholars says no. Right? But the most correct opinion is that it has to be based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that mentioned, that mentioned that. So the Sheikh says, he said, وَإِن جُنَّ فِي أَثْنَاءِ النَّهَارِ لَمْ يَبْطُلْ صَوْمُهُ كَمَا لَوْ غُمِيَ عَلَيْهِ بِمَرَضٍ. He says, if he becomes crazy during the day of Ramadan, his fasting is not nullified. It's not nullified. Just like if a person he become fall into unconsciousness, like what's that word? Become unconscious, right? Yeah. He said this fasting of a person is not nullified. Because لأنه نوى صوم وهو عاقل, because he intended fasting while he is right. What he was saying. So he says, وعلى هذا فلا يلزم قضاءه اليوم الذي حصل فيه جنون. So on the days that he's insane, he does not have to make those days up. He doesn't have to make those days up. So the Sheikh mentioned, the Sheikh moving on to the fourth one, he says, Al-Haram. The fourth is an old person, right? Some of us, we have, our grandparents, some people, they reach the age of 90, right? And they are decrepit, right? They can't, they don't understand. What happened to this kind of people? This kind of people, they take the same ruling of the person who is crazy. The days that he's able to fast, they'll fast if they have the ability, right? Means in terms of the intellect. Senile, that's Decrepit is what's decrepit?
Decrepit is physical.
It's physical. Okay, senile. Jazakallah khair. Now, طيب. So a person who is an old person who is senile, right? A person who's senile and can understand, then it's obligatory upon the person to fast as long as it does not have a physical effect on the person, right? So now the Sheikh moving on to the fifth one is al-qism khamis al-ajzan siyam, the one who does not have the ability to fast. Some people have medical conditions and they're not able to fast in Ramadan. The Sheikh says, al-ajzu an siyam ajzan mustamirran la rujja zawaluhu. He says, if a person is not able, is sick, and this kind of sickness, a person is not hope that he will recover from that sickness, right? Some people, they have sickness, they're not going to get better, right? They're not going to get better. And the Sheikh mentioned an example of the person who have cancer. Well, cancer, you can get better, but the point is, people recover from cancer, right? Chronic illnesses, yeah. But there are some situations like diabetes, some people don't recover from that, right?
It's very rare.
Is it rare?
Yeah, you can get rid of diabetes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Type 2.
Type 2, you can't.
Type 2, you can get rid of it. Type 1, you can't.
Okay. But the point the Sheikh is trying to make is that, huh? You want to say something? The point the Sheikh is making is that if a person have a disease that he's now hoping to recover from that, then the ruling is different from a person who is who's going to recover. A person who's going to recover, then they need to not fast in Ramadan, but make it up after Ramadan. Meaning that the person is sick, whatever the sickness is, but they're not able to fast, they have to make it up for Ramadan but they don't have to fast on Ramadan. But the one who is not able to, who is hope that this, or the person who's not going to recover from the sickness or the disease, then it's obligatory upon the person to feed a person every single day of Ramadan. Right? So a person who has a cancer, for example, and the cancer is not going to go away, or an old person as well too, an old person who is old but fasting will do harm to them. In that situation, they just need to feed a poor person for every single day of Ramadan that they're not fasting. Now,
is there like a ruling like on how much they need to feed, like a certain amount of food, or is it like
it's just a meal basically. It's not like the entire day. It's just a meal. Like just feed them. You feed them like a fasting person, like a fasting person.
like
Just by food that is.
If
Huh?
you give, sorry,
No, go ahead.
if you get someone like 7 dates, would that suffice? No, it's not enough to get a meal.
It has a full course more. Yeah. Yeah, food. Yeah. Now, it's not like just giving like a couple of dates. Yeah, proper food. Yeah.
I didn't know.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No problem. So the Sheikh mentions. So those are the 5 that the Sheikh mentioned. The sixth, the Sheikh mentioned the person who is traveling. المسافر إذا لم يقصد بسفره تحيل على الفطر. A person who is fasting, we know that a person who is fasting, it is permissible for the person to not fast due to the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ فِي أَيَامٍ أُخَرٍ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 185, it says, after mentioning that Ramadan is obligatory, Allah says that any one of you who is sick or who is traveling, then they should make their fasting, meaning later, after Ramadan. Then Allah mentioned, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمْ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُكُمْ الْعُسْرَ, that Allah wants easy for you and Allah does not want hardship upon you. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 185. 185 now. So a person who is fasting, a person who is traveling, it is if it's going to harm them, if it's going to cause a difficulty upon them, it's better for them to break the fast. But if they can travel and fast, then no problem, they can fast. The Sheikh mentioned here that if the person who's traveling, if he does not intend to get away from his fasting, some people, they want to travel so that they don't have to fast, right? They just want to get around that. It says that if the person does not intend to get away from his fasting, it says فَإِنْ قَصَدَ ذَلِكَ فَالْفِطْرُ عَلَيْهِ حَرَامٌ. But if he intends to get away from his fasting, then getting away from his fasting is, not fasting is trying to get away is haram for him to do that. It's haram for him. He said, وَالْوَاجِبَ عَلَيْهِ حِينَئِذٍ. So then fasting becomes obligatory upon him then. And then the person's trying to get away. But as for the one who is not, he's just traveling. Sometimes people have, mashallah, some of the brothers, they travel, right? Mashallah, huh? If you travel, people travel. Of course, someone like you travel to places not too far. People traveling to like Philadelphia, for example. Richmond. And of course, the scholars have a different ruling regarding what consists of a person traveling as well too, right? A person traveling to Baltimore from here, it's not traveling. A person traveling to Philadelphia, yes, it is traveling, but you can fast. It's not that hard. I mean, it's 3 hours away, right? Or 4 hours.
So what you're doing while you're traveling.
Yeah, it depends if it's going to cause you difficulty as well too now. If it's considered traveling and it's going to cause you difficulty, then it's allowed for you to break your fast and make it up other days. But as long as you're not trying to get away from not fasting. Now, you want to say that?
So I'll be going out of the country like right in the middle of Ramadan
No.
for about 5 days.
Okay.
So during that 5-day period, I should of course try to fast.
Right.
But
Now, you should try to fast, but if it's not going to cause difficulty, because now, it's not like back in the day, people travel on camels and travel days and days and months, right? But now, a lot of it can go, even we're going to another country, can be maybe going to Canada, and Canada is 3 hours by flight. It's not going to cause you any hardship. Even though if you don't want to fast, no problem. But it's better that you fast if it's not going to cause you hardship.
it's permissible.
What is permissible?
I say, but it's
You have, I mean, as long as you're fasting, as long as you're traveling, then you can break your fast. If you break your fast, there's no sin upon you, as long as what you're doing is is considered traveling. Now,
What about the time zones?
what do you mean?
Like,
Any change in time zones?
yeah, like if a person is traveling and then over there, the country where they're going to, like, yeah.
You will break the fast where you are going. You are going to break your fast. For example, maybe you're going to Africa somewhere, right? And you leave, you start fasting in the morning here, right? Of course, different countries, by the time you're traveling, wherever you are, the country where you are, where they're breaking their fast, right, is where he said you have to break the fast there, right? Khalas, that's it. Done. Meaning that you're traveling to, right now in Saudi Arabia is like 8 hours ahead. Huh? Yeah, it's about 8 hours ahead now, right? But when you're traveling, you still have to go to different places. Maybe you go to Turkey, right? Or you go to Egypt. Yeah, Egypt's 2 hours or an hour or two behind, right? As you travel, you will get to places where it's time people are breaking fast, then you break your fast there. As connected to the place you are. Taib.
I have a follow-up question.
Now.
Based on what you said, for instance, I'm going to Saudi Arabia. I landed in Egypt. They were at, let's say, 7 p.m. I break my fast. I now go to Saudi Arabia. You are around 2 p.m. What would I do?
2 p.m. Oh, so you break your fast?
I've already broke my fast.
Okay.
In
Egypt, right.
I continue my journey. I landed like Saudi Arabia, which is my final destination.
Right.
But as at that time, they were 2 p.m.
2 p.m. No, it's not gonna be like that. Because I have to understand that it doesn't work like that, because it's not gonna turn out that you have an advantage of like that. It flips like 2 hours an hour.
The reason why I asked you this, you were like, you can break your fast, maybe you break your fast in Egypt, right? And you know that Egypt and Saudi might not have, I'm not saying Saudi specifically,
right?
I'm just like using the two countries as an example. Now, the final destination, the time zone does not even also.
No, not necessarily the final destination. Let me correct that. It's the place where you are. What are they doing at the time that you are there, right? If they're fasting, if you've been fasting and you get there when they are breaking their fast, you break their fast there, right? You break your fast there, and of course, and mashallah nowadays, if people that are traveling, they will tell you where you are they will let you know you are in this country now. This is their time here in this country. From there, you'll be able to tell, you know what? This is time here. Okay, I'm about to eat my suhoor. I'm about to eat in the morning before or I'm breaking my fast. So alhamdulillah, that's طيب. So the Sheikh says that فإذا لم يقصد تحيل فهو مخير بين الصيام وفطر سواء طالت مدة سفره أو قصرت. He says that as for the one who is traveling, if he does not intend to get away from trying to get away from fasting, he has a choice whether to fast or not to fast. Whether he may be stayed there for days or few days, maybe for a long time or a few days. People may be traveling for like 2 weeks or entire month of Ramadan. If they want, they cannot. They don't have to fast the entire month of Ramadan, but they have to make it up, right? But of course, it's better to fast in Ramadan. It's better to fast in Ramadan so that you can, number one, you get it over with, right? Because you're not fasting in Ramadan, it doesn't mean that you're excluded from fasting now. You still you have a load on your back, right? So you have to, so it's better to, if you're able to fast while you are traveling. Right. So the Sheikh mentioned a point here. So فإن كان صاحب السيارة الأجرة ويشق عليه الصوم في رمضان في السفر من أجل حر مثلا فإنه يؤخر إلى الوقت يبرد فيه جو. Okay, so Sheikh says that if a person is a taxi driver, all right, some people drive, or people drive buses. People that drive these big buses, they go into New York and they go into California and they just drive. Sheikh says that if it's difficult upon him during Ramadan, فإنه يؤخره إلى الوقت. So it is permitted for him to delay it. Right, sometimes. Right? It's permission for the person to delay it to the time where it's easy for him. Because this is his job, right? He has to make a living, right? So in that particular case, it's allowed for him to postpone his fasting. Time. You have 10 minutes left?
Would that be the case outside of Ramadan as well?
Say it again.
Would that be the case outside of Ramadan for a person in that particular career?
I mean, Ramadan is a person who's outside Ramadan, it's not fasting. Right? He's working.
Is he a traveler though? Is he considered a traveler?
If the person is, even when a person is not traveling.
If a person drives and they travel for a living.
If the person drives,
yeah, like you said, like
right.
us.
Now, if a person is traveling, right, they have the option of whether they are driver or not driving, right? They have the option of fasting or not fast, right? But if a person, we're talking about a bus driver now, a taxi driver, this is their job, this is a livelihood, and of course, a place like Saudi Arabia is very hard. They have to make a living, right? Because of that, the Sheikh is saying that it is permissible for a person to delay his fasting, right? But of course, a person, because if it's going to cause a tremendous difficulty upon the person, but of course, a person should not take advantage. Say because a Sheikh says this, then I should just run away with it and just no. Because some people want to do that. Now, so the Sheikh mentions, it says, so we've mentioned how many so far now? We've mentioned 6 of them. 6. It says, القسم السابع المريض الذي يرجى بر مرضه وله 3 حالات. So the Sheikh is going to mention the people that is hope that a person was sick, and it's hope that the person will recover from a sickness. He said this person, there's 3 situations to this person. Right? A person who's sick during Ramadan, but it's hope that this person will recover from this fast. He said the first situation of this person that that person fasting is not difficult upon him. Like person is sick, he has a headache, right? Okay, it's headache, but you can fast. If it's not going to be too, he said this person, then فَيَجِبُ عَلَيْهِ الصَّوْمُ. So this person is obligatory for him to fast. Sometimes you have a cold, simple cold, headache, not serious headache during Ramadan, that is not going to harm you, then it's obligatory for a person to fast. It says, the second is, أن يشق عليه الصوم ولا يضره. So he says the second category is a person that fasting is difficult upon him, but it does not harm him. The fasting is difficult upon the person, but it will not harm him. It says, then this person, it can break his fast. Right? You're sick, it's not going to harm you, but it's difficult upon you. You're allowed to break your fast. وَيُكْرَ لَهُ صَوْمُ مَعَ شِقٍّ. But it's disliked for him to fast because of this. It's disliked, right? Is that clear, inshallah? Meaning that the first category is a person who it's not difficult for him. He's sick, it's not difficult upon him, and the fasting, fast will not harm him either if he fasts. This person, it is obligatory for him to fast. Is that clear, inshallah?
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think
They
this.
were looking at me like, We're talking about a person who is sick. The sickness is a sickness that is mild sickness. It's a mild sickness. Right? The Sheikh said if his sickness is not difficult upon him, meaning that by fasting it's not difficult upon him, and it's not going to harm him by fasting, if these two conditions are met, this person has to fast. Right?
Both conditions have to be met.
If both conditions are met, then he has to fast. Like for example, a person you have a cold or congestion, right? You fasting is not difficult upon you, and it's not going to harm you. If you're having this congestion, it's not going to harm you, and it's not difficult upon you. Then it's obligatory to fast.
What if you have the flu and you don't know if it's gonna harm you? Let's say you're going through a real bad, like 2 weeks ago I had a real bad, I was going through something, and in a case like that where you don't know if you were to not eat, if it were to harm you.
I mean, of course, you need, in that particular situation, it's better to get a doctor's, recommendation when it comes to a situation like that. Like people that have sugar, or, this kind of situation, you want to get, if I'm not eating, what will happen to me? But if it's like congestion, mild headache and things like that, most people can do with it. They can fast, and it's not gonna harm them.
Yeah, most of the time you don't even have an appetite anyway.
No. So that's the first situation. The second situation is a person where he's sick. This sickness is difficult upon him, but it does not harm him. Right? It's difficult. Oh man, I'm sick. Huh? You're in some pain, but it's not going to really cause you any harm. It says it is permissible for this person to break his fast. And it's disliked for the person to continue fasting. It's disliked for the person who's going to cause him difficulty, even though it's not going to harm him. It's disliked for him to fast. It says the third category is أن يضره الصوم فيجب عليه الفطر ولا يجوز له الصوم. And the third category is where that fasting is actually going to harm you. It's going to harm you. Then this person, it is not permissible for this person to fast. Right? A person who has sugar or has diabetes, and it is known that if you don't eat during the day, whether you take medicine or not. It may cause your situation to, you may put you in, may kill yourself. You may, pass out, or you may die from that. That person is not permitted for him to fast. Due to the statement, should the Sheikh brush the evidence for this in Surah An-Nisa, where he says, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Allah said in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29, do not kill yourself. Indeed, Allah is most merciful to you. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah mentioned Surah Al-Baqarah, citing the same, and these are the evidences the scholars use for anything that's going to cause you to destroy yourself. Anything that you're going to do, whether it's doing drugs, whether it's doing alcohol, whether it's smoking cigarette, the scholars always use this particular evidence to prove that don't kill yourself. And this is from that verse is in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 109, where Allah said, وَلَا تُلْقُوا أَيْدِيكُمْ بِالتَّهْلُكَةِ. Allah said, do not use your hand to destroy yourself, basically.
Do not let your hands be the source of your
own destruction. Now, it says in another verse, in a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, وَإِنَّ لِلنَّفْسِكَ عَلَيْكَ حَقًّا. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned hadith that indeed yourself has a right over yourself. You have a right over yourself, right? And from that is what? To take care of yourself. Allah has given your body has a right. So yourself has a right over you. And that is to not do anything that's going to harm it. Or do anything that's going to corrupt it. And so on and so forth. In another hadith, the Prophet mentioned that it says, La darar wa la dirar. The Prophet mentioned that there's no harm should be caused and no harm should be reciprocated. I think this is 1 minute, right? We'll stop there, we'll continue. Inshallah, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.